Okay, let me get the micro. Good afternoon, everybody. Live from McDivot in Tampa. Welcome to the latest podcast episode. And this week, it is an absolute honor that I'm to my right is the voice of USF football since inception in '97, the great Jim Louk. Jim, thank you for coming today, man.
Oh, sure, no problem at all.
Yeah, a native of Rochester, New York. You graduated from the University of Bridgeport in 1979 with a bachelor's in journalism. Tell our audience about that.
Well, I was going to be a print journalism guy
Mhm.
when I started and got my degree and kind of wanted to hang around the sports world. And I like doing on-air stuff a little more than I did writing. You have to get exposed to it to find out things like that sometimes. So that's kind of where it led me and got me to where I'm at now.
Yeah, can you tell our audience about your background? And that's how you got started in this field?
Yeah, I was working in Tampa in the early 1980s, doing overnights at a very small AM radio
Yes.
station that happened to have the contract for USF basketball games. And coming up on the 1983-84 season, they felt they needed to make a change with the broadcast. And it was only a couple of weeks before the season. They didn't have a chance to do a big search.
Yeah.
And there I was, right place, right
Yeah.
time.
Yes. Who has been the biggest influence throughout your life?
I've never had a real broadcast mentor. My parents were probably my biggest influences just because they believed in me and encouraged
Very
me.
important. Very important. Uh, what were the biggest challenges you faced early on in your career? I mean, when you got started, what was the biggest challenges early on?
Breaking in then was so different. It's going to make me sound old, but no internet,
Yeah.
no cable TV, and the chance to get reps was much less than it is now.
Wow.
So the hardest thing for me, was breaking in, getting the right opportunity, but it was also the repetition that you need to get better.
Yeah.
It's just so different now. I see these guys come out of college, 23, 24 years old, and they're so much further along than I was at that age.
Wow.
It's
We all are.
really a different world.
Yeah. Men's basketball, you were the voice since 1983. You called men's basketball until 97. I think, and you've been the voice since the inception, 97. Is it 97 that you?
Yeah.
And you've called more than 200 games. I would ask you, what is the favorite? I don't know. I don't know if you want to pick your favorite, but what would be one of your favorite USF moments calling football?
Probably the ones you would expect, the inaugural game, because we had all worked so hard to get up to that point, and seeing a full Tampa stadium was pretty exciting. The upset wins, Florida State, Miami in 2010.
Yeah.
Some of the other really surprising games, Notre Dame, obviously. Probably those, and then on the basketball side, getting to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 1990. So a lot of good things over the years.
Yeah, good. He channels his Abdul Rahim, the late great coach. Alex Golich channeled that last week. He said, "This is a different USF team," and I believe that. You also called baseball, softball, men's, women's soccer, volleyball. But I also saw here that you were a ticket sales supervisor. What was that responsibility like?
Well, I was a 30-year administrator in the athletic department. I actually retired as an associate athletic director.
Wow.
4.5 years ago. And one of the things that I did for, almost 20 years was oversee ticket sales. That started at the beginning of football, and then transitioned, oversaw the move from Tampa Stadium to Raymond James, where you had to reset the house and kind of start over. And then the last few years, I oversaw video. The broadcast element was something I did from the beginning with USF, but at the time, we were a much smaller department.
Yeah.
And it was multiple jobs for a
Wow.
lot of people. So I always had something else that went along with it.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I was looking at yesterday, when I was doing my research, is called Letters from Louk. That's one of my favorite things when I looked at, because it looks back at the history of USF. I like talk about the obvious was the Miami in 2009. A thing I look at it from a different point of view, and I really was very impressed with how you talk about USF from a different perspective.
Well, it's fun. And one of the reasons that I stayed my whole career, really my whole adult life with USF, was that it was such a young and growing, vibrant place, both the department and the university. There was always something new to look forward to. Anytime you got kind of the itch to maybe go somewhere else, well, the department's, they're going to join a new conference in a couple of years. I can't miss that.
No.
They're going to start football. I can't miss that. They're going to redo the baseball stadium. I can't miss that.
No.
Then all of a sudden you're there 30 years.
Yeah, and then you have the stadium coming up in 27.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's a busy place right now. A lot of construction is taking place. It's literally right next to the football practice field, so you get to see it every day.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I noticed it's I think it has to be one of your prouder moments. Since 2013, you've been the master of commencement ceremonies, and you get to read the graduates' names when they receive their diplomas. That, to me, is something they can never take away from you.
It was great fun. I did it for about 10 years, and one of the really neat things was a few years ago, my son finished his graduate degree, and I got to read his name and have him come up. So
I love that.
It's fun. It's a lot of the special events I really enjoy. I MC the annual Hall of Fame banquet and do a lot of other things like that, public speaking involved with the university. A little less now as time has gone on, but it's a lot of fun.
Yes, it certainly is. Let's get to football. Last week against Florida, I was watching highlights last night. The thing that impressed me about USF in the first two games is their defense. Their defense was just unbelievable. How the way they destroyed Boise in the second half, and the way they did against Florida last week. Talk about that if you can.
Much improved. I think the difference, at least so far with this team, small sample size, right? It's two games. But they've been able to finish.
Yeah.
In the last couple years, I've really liked their two deep, but I think where they got into trouble was they didn't have the depth beyond the two deep when the inevitable injuries came, or when you're playing your top guys too many plays every game, you get into trouble. But they've been able to finish this year. I think that's a big part of it, especially in Gainesville, but also against Boise State.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Last week, 355 yards allowed, 222 yards passing, 133 rushing. They had one interception. They had the time. They controlled the issue was 34 minutes. Any way they're going to try to control that this week against a powerhouse like Miami?
I don't think they are, based on what Alex Golish has said, because we've asked him about that. I mean, South Florida was among the lowest in the country in time of possession last year, and it's kind of continued this year. But his point was, we're worried about points per possession.
Yeah.
So they feel if they're clicking, things will take care of itself. But it is something to consider, because in that game against Florida, they did a much better job having some long sustained drives, especially late in the game.
Yeah.
That hasn't always been the case.
Yeah, that hasn't been the case about this. Yeah, you could tell with goals. I could tell right away. This is a different USF team. Byron Brown. Wow. First two games, like you said, sample size. 23 of 36, 263. 17 for 66. I could tell you, when this guy is healthy, this guy is dangerous.
Yeah, he's a terrific ball carrier, very aggressive, good leader. He's thrown 242 passes without an interception.
Wow, that's amazing.
Dates back to 2023. So he does a lot of things very well. I think he would tell you he's trying to still improve his accuracy, especially on downfield passes.
Yeah.
but he can do a lot of things to win you ball games.
Yeah, no question. Big road test this week. Miami, as we all know. Question I got for you, also is what is the most intriguing one-on-one matchup you expect to see in this game?
I think it's what the defensive line for South Florida can do to try to at least get Carson back off his spot a
Yeah.
little bit. That's going to be really difficult.
Yeah.
There's certainly a size difference on the lines, both
Yeah.
offensive and defensive. South Florida has gotten bigger. They've got a lot of graduate students. They've got a lot of experience, but they're not going to come up against offensive and defensive lines this year like they will this week.
No question.
So I think that's an area to really.
Yeah, look at the Canes receiving core. That's Malachi Tony, CJ Daniels, etc. Against the USF corners in Ward, Rucker, and Chennault. How are they? What are you? What match? What are you looking for in that matchup? The receiving core against USF corners.
A lot of it, I'm going to go right back to the defensive line, because what you worry about is Carson Beck sitting back there patting the ball and picking out his guy. No matter how good you are in the back seven, you got to have some help from the defensive line. So I think that's going to be a really key thing to watch. The other two guys on defense for South Florida, the linebackers, Mac Harris and Jalen Schuler, have had two very good games so far. We'll have to see if they can continue.
Yeah, especially against a tight end like Loft is going to contribute for them. Now, preparing for a physical D like Miami is going to bring, we're going to come with that. How is Greg Fry preparing his tackles, McLaughlin and Herring, to take on Bain and Mesidor on the edge?
Well, I think you look at those two guys and they're the key to it if you can at least slow them down. They may have some guys help out a little bit on them. It may not be just one guy on them, and then you take your shot, hoping you can hold other guys out.
Yeah.
But again, those are two great talents that you're going to have a challenge with no matter what.
No doubt about it, yeah. We've heard about the star players, Brown, Bain, all that. But who is a less heralded USF player who could have a massive impact in this game?
I'm interested in seeing Alvon Isaac again, the running back. He's a sophomore. Mm-hmm. He had 6 carries last year, which makes him, by the way, the top returning ball carrier on the team.
Yeah.
But he had some really big plays, both catching the ball and running late against Florida. Small guy, elusive, but can break a tackle as well. I think he may have cemented himself as maybe getting out of the committee and getting more time in the offensive backfield with that game last week. Yeah. I'm curious to see what he can follow it up with.
Yeah, as you prepared to broadcast this game in the booth up at Hard Rock Stadium, what is the one storyline, Jim, that you're most excited to see play out on Saturday?
I think it's the end of this 3-game top 25 gauntlet that South Florida opened the season with.
Yeah.
Boise State, Florida, Miami. I think, in looking at that, starting back at this summer, I think I always viewed this one coming up as the toughest of the 3, not to say the other two weren't easy, but people were writing South Florida off as 0-3.
Yeah.
And boy, if you can steal one, you'd be in great shape.
He stole 2.
Now they got 2 in the bank. What can you do here? You can probably play a little bit more loose than maybe.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah. So, that to me is, what do they do with this 3rd game? And how do they respond to a full week of everybody telling them how wonderful they are?
Yeah, that's going to be, that's Nick Saban would always say that's the rat poison.
Yeah. And it's been going on all week, believe me.
Oh, yeah. Keys to the game. The single most important factor for USF to win this game. Is it controlling the line of scrimmage, winning the turnover battles, or something else entirely?
I think those two. The Bulls have got to establish a running game. They did not defend the run well early against Florida. They made some nice adjustments and improved upon that, but they struggled with it early. And then turnovers, they've been outstanding. Boise State fumbled 5 times all last year. South Florida got 3 of them and recovered every one. They were turnover free. The Bulls were against Florida, so
Yes.
it's not very revolutionary, but I think those two
Yeah,
things
yeah.
are pretty important.
Yeah, very important. I think for me, from the biggest factor for Miami is just take care of business, control the line of scrimmage with that big offensive line, win that turnover battle. But I think it's going to be one if it comes down to the kicking game. I've always respected Martin Gramatica. You know, his son Nico plays for USF. Do I think Carter Davis can win this game for us if it's close? Yes, but I know Nico Gramatica sure can if it's close.
Yeah, he's an exceptional talent. And, you know, part of the mantra for South Florida this year, especially in these first three games, Alex Golish told his team, get to the fourth quarter in the game, then we'll show them who we are. So
Yeah.
they feel they've learned how to finish. We'll see if that holds true.
Yeah, I think so too. Without giving too much away, do you have a gut feeling how this one will shake out, and what's your reasoning behind that?
I have gotten out of the prediction game. I'm not very good at it,
Okay,
to be
fair,
honest with
fair,
you.
fair.
I think it has a chance to be a really competitive game. I go back to last year when it was a ball game at halftime.
And here in Tampa.
And again, with that maybe less deep roster, South Florida kind of ran out of gas, couldn't stay competitive in the second half. I think they have a better opportunity to do that this year. I think there's belief in that team. So I think it can be a very competitive game, but beyond that, I'd rather let it play out.
I think we should too. I think we should too. What is to conclude, what is the best way for listeners to connect with you or follow your work?
Well, I've got a brand new flagship radio station in Tampa, Q105. We're excited about that.
Yes.
And I still do some social media on X at USF Jim Louk.
Okay.
So anybody's welcome to reach out on that. And I'm looking forward to finishing up football and then basketball in the winter and baseball on the ESPN Plus package in spring. So it's a full year of work, and I'm very grateful for it.
What final thoughts would you like to leave our audience with, Jim, as we wrap up?
I'm just looking forward to going down there. I have not done a game at that stadium since it was in the old configuration.
Yes.
So I haven't seen it since they really
have.
dressed it up, and I'm looking forward to it. I just think it's going to be a really great game. I hope it's packed there. I know South Florida is going to get some buses of students down there, so hopefully they'll have a presence. And
Yeah, and I think they will too. It's nearly sold out, by the way, Jim, just so you know.
That's
There's not so much left. Not many tickets left. But yeah, if you don't have your tickets for USF Miami on Saturday at Hard Rock 4:30, you're running out of time because they are going to go quick. So Jim, thank you very much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it.
Pleasure.
We'll hopefully do this again down the road.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.